What is up, everybody? My name is Art Lee here, and today I am going to talk about Prince Lightstar from the Skeleton Warriors toy line. Now, this toy line was released by Playmates Toys around 93, 94, and from my recollection, they were they were meant to be the Masters of the Universe of the 90s. Both of them had this blend of mysticism and technology. Both of them were about a royal family battling against the forces of evil, trying to get two halves of a magical item. In Masters, it was two halves of the Power Sword, and in Skeleton Warriors, it was two halves of a mystical jewel. And both of them have the skeletal antagonists. In Masters, obviously Skeletor, and in Skeleton Warriors, it was Baron Von Dark and his Skeletal Legion. Now, it's a little bit weird that they tried making this the Motu of the 90s, because there was a Masters of the Universe line released in the 90s, but we'll get to that in a bit. Now, from my recollection, the toy line kind of failed, and there were several factors to it. One of the main ones was the heroes of the line were not released until the very end of the line. And so, for the most part, if kids wouldn't put their parents at the store, the main thing they're going to see are the skeleton villains of the line. And I'm going to say right here, the skeletons are really well made. They're beautifully detailed. They have all this amazing work put into them. Um, my main gripe is that they have the same issues as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, in which they're putting like these dramatic action poses and they really can't stand on their own. That's one of the main reasons why I'm hesitating collecting the skeletons. I mean, they look great, they look amazing, and they would be amazing on my collection. It's just, I don't want to be dealing with having to reset them every couple of days, or unfortunately every couple of hours, when they eventually lose their balance. But for the most part, yeah, they're great. Like I said, the heroes were not released until the end of the line, and that was when the series was canceled, the toy line was canceled, and parents are not going to want their kids mostly playing with this, especially in the 90s. I remember as a kid in the 90s, my mom would not let me play Pokemon of any kind because she thought it was demonic. It had something to do with Satanism. And I remember a lot of Hispanic kids back then, they had the same issue with parents talking about that. Um, Same thing with Yu-Gi-Oh! Later, a few years later, but that's neither here nor there. Another issue why this may have failed, well, a main issue why it did fail, was that around the time Power Rangers became a thing. And Power Rangers was huge in the 90s. It was this huge phenomenon where, every kid just loved it. And overall, it was a cheaper show to produce and all that compared to Skeleton Warriors. Everything was hand drawn and such. So eventually, they just cut their losses and canceled, which is a shame. The series is good. It would probably work now much more than it did in the 90s. But yeah, unfortunately, it can't really change things. I gotta say, if I was a kid in the 90s walking down the shelves and I had this would have caught my eye right away. Giant chrome golden skeleton, dude wearing a skeleton themed armor, or skull themed armor. That is just cool. Um, Huge gun and all that. Original price tag from Walmart for $6.94. God, I wish I got this for $6.94. I got it like for $16 on eBay. And that's another thing, these figures, or at least the humans, they're reasonably priced. You go back and look for a lot of stuff from back in the day, and it's more than doubled its price, or it's going for higher amounts, especially when it's still on card. But no, these are reasonably priced. They're what I would expect to buy a new figure at Walmart for. Maybe $2-3 a little bit more expensive. But you know what? It's a fair price. Nobody's charging me $40 for these a piece, so I'm happy. So now that I've opened up Prince Lightstar here, I wanted to show he did come with a few stuff besides his basic accessories. He came with this poster which, hold on, let me take it out of the packaging. So yeah, here's the poster of that came with Prince Lightstar. The skeleton warriors front and center, our heroes in the top. It's really cool looking fantasy artwork. Um, and I didn't realize until I actually opened it. The back is a mini comic, which I'm kind of disappointed they didn't separate them because, you know, one half is a really cool poster, the other half is a mini comic. You know, if you're gonna keep it as a mini comic, it's gonna eventually rip apart. And if you're gonna put it up, you can't, look at the mini comic anymore. They probably did that just to save money, but it would have been cool if they had them as two separate things. But yeah, overall, it's still pretty sweet. So now I have Prince Lightstar out of packaging. One thing I wanted to point out is while he was in the packaging, he wasn't that secure in it. Nothing really holding him in place. The weapons were better held in place by a piece of tape than he was in the card. So just something to look out for. And one thing I noticed about mine particularly, he has two left arms. He's supposed to come with a different arm sculpt than this one for this one, and unfortunately, that makes holding any of his other accessories, knife, blaster, skeletal tracker, very difficult. Um, it's not really gonna stop me from talking about the figure. It's just, yeah, it's gonna be very hard to show these off, and it's gonna be a little bit annoying tracking down a correct version to replace this one. This one will probably go in storage. But yeah, to the figure itself, Lightstar is 6 inches tall, and what really surprised me is the amount of articulation he had, especially for a early 90s figure. I know a lot of them had 6 points of articulation, which was head, arms, legs, and sometimes waist. But no, Lightstar here, when full out, he has hinges in the arms and the shoulders that let him go inwards and outwards, back and forth, go out, go in. I wish I had a tripod right now. Um, he can. He was about to fall off the table. He can rotate his. He can move at the groin area. He has bendable knees. Again, I really wish I had a tripod that way I could show off his articulation. What surprised me is he has waist articulation because there's no, you know, clear articulation cut right there. I moved it a little bit and was surprised, it actually moved. His head rotates too, so that's a plus. My main gripe with the figure, besides the two left arms, would be the fact that they gave him this hard plastic cape. Now it looks good, but my main issue with it is the same I have for a lot of figures that have hard plastic capes, and it's that you try to pose them, position them, put them on a vehicle or something, that cape gets in the way, and you know without the cape, it just doesn't look right. So I wish they did a soft goods version. I myself might try to make a version just for my own collection. I gotta say, the sculpt overall is really nice. His armor has all these cybernetic bits, shoulders, uh, the skull, chest armor piece. His leg has a skeletal design to it. One thing too is that all the figures have this gem on their chest. I know in Skeleton Warriors, it's how you defeat the skeletons is by removing the gem on their chest. I'm not really sure why the humans have it, but maybe it's just there as a brand consistency. Who knows? Um, he comes with this small knife with a knuckle guard, a spring-loaded blaster, which I did not realize how big the the grip for the gun is, and I'm kind of wondering how he was expected to hold it. The gun itself is spring-loaded, little trigger right there, and for the sake of not losing this missile, I am not gonna fire it. I also came with a skeletal tracker. My understanding is that it could fold open. So yeah, they use that to track down skeletons. And last but not least, his sword, which I do not want to take out of the hand because I don't know if it's the sword or it's me, but it felt really iffy putting it in. It felt like it was gonna snap, and I really don't want to break the sword. I don't want to have to track down another one. But yeah, the sword has some really good detailing. The hilt of the blade. Come on, focus, focus, focus. There we go. Is a skull on it. The hilt has all this detailing sculpted into it. The blade itself is just an orange blade, but still a lot of really good detailing. Now, I originally bought Lightstar here to go into my larger Motu fantasy collection, which is all this stuff back here. And I just want to show how he looks compared to other figures. Now, next to the Funko DC Primal Age, he is a bit taller. But then again, the Primal Age stuff has some iffy leg articulation. So then you gotta put him in weird in like lower poses to get to the balance. Here he is next to a vintage merman. Close. And it's not that big of a difference, so he goes in well. Here he is next to a 2000X skeleton. Once more close, it's not really a huge difference. And this is one of the main reasons why I got them. Is that these figures reminded me so much of the New Adventures of He-Man toy line. Which, like I said, this was the 90s reboot or continuation of the 80s He-Man. They updated the sculpts a lot. I know a lot of the earlier figures are a lot less buff. They're a bit shorter than the normal figures. But I also know they tried updating articulation. They gave them the articulation. And I know they gave a lot of the figures unique action gimmicks. But compared next to Lightstar, uh, yeah, Lightstar is still a bit taller. Not by much, but, it's pretty obvious. But I think he's going to make a nice addition to my collection, not really stand out as much. So overall, here are my thoughts on Prince Lightstar. He's a great figure, amazing sculpt, really cool accessories. You know what? I'm going to say that. They look really great, and I'm disappointed I cannot fully showcase him holding these due to the two left arm situation. Really great articulation, especially considering the time this figure was released. I'm still a little iffy about that plastic cape, but it's not a huge thing. Overall, he's gonna make a really good addition to my collection. I hope to get more from this line and add them to my shelves. Hopefully I could find a replacement one due to the two left arms, or maybe find a way to fix that. And hopefully, I'll be reviewing the other two humans that came in the line. I got a really good deal on Ursak and Grimskull, so hopefully pretty soon I could keep doing this. So that's all for now. If you guys like the video, hit like and subscribe. If you don't want to, I understand. And thanks for watching. Peace.